On a chaotic day, what do we need more than anything to keep us going?
Alcohol?
Coffee and alcohol. Coffee and
Welcome to the Easy Speak Speakeasy.
You've unlocked the door to unfiltered mental health and wellness conversations.
I miss sitting right next to you, Dahyana.
I know it's very awkward. Like I feel like I can feel you, but I can't, the energy.
Yeah.
But it's like similar energy because we both have like the plants going,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyone who's listening, we are not in the same location. So we are recording apart. I
Yeah.
don't know. Is that the correct language?
Recording together apart.
Alone together. Wasn't that the phrase during COVID?
Yeah, we're alone. That's so sad. And this is not a sad podcast.
No, it's not.
No.
Actually, it makes me want to have a sip of the drink.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheersies.
Click. We don't even have our matching glasses. What? Glasses?
Listen, we're just going with it because there's still so much to talk about. So much.
Yep. Sometimes you just can't get caught up on the little details. You got to move towards the big picture.
The big picture, you know what I'm saying? Like, for me, the biggest thing on my mind has been the role of schools and mental health for like so many reasons. So I'm excited to talk about that today because
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those things that's happening in our society, like a place where mental health is playing out that is coming more to light, but there's still a lot of just like pushback on the approach to fixing it in a lot of ways and missed opportunities. So, yeah, let's get into it.
100%. Let's get into it. Let's grab these cocktails and
Yeah,
have this convo, baby.
cocktails and combo. Oh, so by the way, this is on a chaotic day. What do we need more than anything to keep us going?
Alcohol?
Coffee and alcohol. Coffee. And, I was just thinking to myself, I could really use a cup of Joe right now. And also, we've got to film this podcast. So let's just see what happens. And one of my favorite drinks to have when I go to like Starbucks or whatever is let's cut out the Starbucks part. It's not a plug for Starbucks.
Unless Starbucks wants to send us some money to help alleviate the mental health crisis that's happening.
No free plugs is what I mean.
Hit us up.
Hit us up.
Starbucks with a check.
Because I also go other places.
But we can go to one place.
OMG. So the caramel macchiato is one of my favorite drinks of all time. And so I kind of just like spice this one up a little bit.
Only one thing that can make that baby better.
Yep. A little vodka and some caramel sauce and some brown sugar. Feels like a warm hug.
Check out our easy sips.
Yes.
For the vibes on
For
how
the
to
vibes.
make this drink happen in your own kitchen.
So,
or in your travel mug if you're a teacher.
I was just going to say, you know who else loves coffee? Every teacher friend I have.
And these days, they're probably like, I really do need to have this spiked.
Yeah.
Because it's a crisis every day in schools.
It's a crisis every day in schools. And it's really challenging for literally everyone involved. It's one of those settings that I feel like that we've worked in together that if you're thoughtful enough about your approach, you can make a huge impact. And, sometimes there are lots of barriers to kind of getting to that place where we're trying new things in mental health.
Mhm.
It's like so archaic, some of the systems that our society kind of abide by. And like, it's really challenging. I think that's like, oh, that's an example of a banner. Um, that was fun. But, I don't know. I mean, I feel like my brain just goes like in a tornado when I think about mental health in schools because there's just so many angles. There's the student angle, there's the teacher angle, there's the family angle, there's the community angle, and it all comes to a head in school, I feel like, in so many different ways and for so many different reasons.
Mhm.
So, you know, I think it's one of those things where, it's a topic of conversation wherever you go. And you have lots of
Everywhere.
experience with it on multiple aspects of those angles that I just described.
Yeah.
So, your brain must also be swirling with so many things.
So many things. It's so frustrating. I think, like
I'll drink to that. Cheers.
yeah. Like, every when I think about the fact that I entered myself in my own journey related to my son's mental health needs, and I entered into the school system and to what advocacy around mental health was like 15 years ago,
Yeah.
and that 15 years later, we're still having the same conversations.
No way.
It's just like, what in the actual fuck is going on?
I can't.
Like,
I can't.
make it
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
And then for
uh,
me, from the family lens, like, have watched and continue to watch families get blamed and scrutinized and a number of different other ways of being treated badly without people really thinking about how exhausted they are. I mean,
yeah.
like, pick anything in your life that's challenging
Yeah.
and think about doing that thing every day for 15 years and seeing no change.
Yeah.
And then think about, like, how differently your tone of voice might be
Oh my gosh.
just after the 3rd year
It's so true. It's so
or the
true.
5th year. Like,
Yeah.
I even see it with myself, and I pride myself on trying to be very collaborative, but, like, there are times where when I've sent the 2nd or 3rd email, like, asking for the very basic thing, that
Yeah.
my 4th email is not rude, but
Yeah.
extremely direct.
Right.
I mean, you've told me before, like, the person who received this cried.
Yeah. I've absolutely said that to you. Yeah, well, because,
And it's
I
not because I'm, like, saying, like,
no,
overtly being like, "You're a blah, blah, blah," or
no,
anything.
but
It's
it's
just,
like
like,
you hold
calling
up the
out fact
mirror.
by fact.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
hold up the mirror and you can't shy away from that. Like, when somebody
Yeah.
does that, it's like, e either you're saying to
Sorry.
yourself, "Damn, I fucked up," or, "Wow, like, I w like, they know that I'm not living up to my best potential." Because
Mhm.
oftentimes I feel like part of what you're saying is that, like, you're not fulfilling your role on this team. Like, that's not what you should be doing or how you should be approaching this. And
Mhm.
I think that's part of like the inherent challenge with schools is that like defining what the team isn't like what we define the team as, from a pinnacle standpoint or from like our approach in the field is, every single member of the community has a voice and we're taking everything into consideration so we could find the best way forward. And we have personal responsibilities in making that happen, and our approach is very straightforward in that way. And I feel like when you write those emails, you say that, but you also like highlight all of the reasons why, like, that is the way it is, where we're not working as a team, and people can't shy away from that.
Mhm.
Wild.
And, like, it's never my goal to make somebody cry.
Yeah, of course.
Like I said, it's after the 3rd collaborative email where I've
Yeah,
been like, but, some it's like at what point, like, enough is enough, right? Like,
yeah,
my at the end of the day, when you, like, strip it all down,
yeah,
my job and families' jobs and parents is to advocate for their children.
right.
We're gonna provide for our children, do the best that we can for our kids at all times. And
Yep,
sometimes the absolute best thing that I can do for my son in his education and his services and
yep,
his future
yep.
is to be like, "Excuse me, ma'am. I just want you to know that that was a pretty incompetent decision."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have to. You have to. And I also think about how many times people get away with the behavior that you're calling them out on, right? Like, you've called them out on it, but how many families don't say anything or don't even realize that that person isn't fulfilling their role, or don't understand their rights, or don't understand the correct ways to advocate for themselves? So I feel like I love that you do that also, because I feel like it helps other families, because you're helping that person to be a better whatever provider that they are. And I think a lot of times people don't expect that from a parent. They expect that from their boss, but half the time their boss isn't caring enough to help them grow professionally, right? And their boss is probably burnt out themselves, to be honest. We are
Mhm,
talking about mental health in the school setting. I think burnout and mental health are becoming a pretty synonymous thing for people who are like feel like they're just swimming against the tide, I feel like, in school
mhm.
settings.
Yeah, and I think, there is there's a part to play in any type of a community. It's something
Yeah,
that we talk about at Pinnacle Partnerships is
yeah,
that is a school community, right?
yep,
And, I know that I have a wealth of information that I could be sharing and, there are parent support groups and things like that. But for me personally,
yeah,
because we do this work all the time, it's is like a burnout for me to
yeah,
go to support groups because
right,
I'm typically the person there who has most of the information, so
yeah,
it doesn't feel like support to me, it feels
yeah,
like
more
giving a lot
helping.
of knowledge, and so
Yeah,
I don't always have, like,
yeah,
the capacity to be like, "I'm gonna
yeah.
go to the support group to work tonight,"
That's an
you know?
interesting I've never thought about that, but yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah,
And so for me,
yeah. Wow.
my action can be, like, through what I'm doing with my son at this particular
R
point.
Right, right.
And then I always will say, because I am happy to do other sort of systemic things, like I'll
Yeah,
say, if you have some kind of a work group around this, or if do you need families represented on your board, like
yeah,
these kinds of things that also don't typically happen. Like, are you debriefing these kinds of errors that go on? I'd be
yeah,
happy to be a part of a debriefing work group, like those
yeah,
sorts of things. I
yeah,
feel like I can bring like a great amount of energy to that, so and I feel like even though I do sometimes write the email that is uncomfortable for people to read,
yeah.
along the way, I've always left wherever my son has gone with good relationships. People
I
still,
believe
like,
it, yeah,
send us emails to be like, "Hey, what's going on?"
yeah,
Or ask if, like, the place where we currently are is hiring, like,
yeah, yeah,
all
yeah,
of those things. So, it makes me feel like even though people know there may be moments, and I usually say from the very beginning, like,
yeah,
there are gonna be times where we're gonna likely have a difficult conversation or 2,
yeah,
and, like, I want everybody to remember that it's because we're all here, like, on this first day of admission or this day of celebration when everybody's getting along and on the same page.
yeah,
Like, remember this in, like, 6 months if something messes up
yeah,
and I have send this email, it's not that I'm no longer in the same caring, amazing, like communicative,
Collaborative. Yeah.
collaborative space. It's
Yeah.
that something has happened and I want to address it head on
Yeah.
because nothing is worse than like people on a team having this underlying like negative festering. And
Yeah.
like this is what happens with families, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
People feel like, well, they just never answer their phone. And
Mhm.
I'm like, well, have you ever done a care map with them to see how many different
Oh, speaking
providers
of
might be calling them?
speaking of care map,
Yes, tell me.
I just feel like that is one of the most powerful things that we do in training that I feel like has allowed people to really understand on a different level what a family is juggling, specifically when it relates to the mental health of their youth, their child,
Mhm,
you know?
mhm.
Like, I feel like
Or their
or
students.
their students, like, I feel like, it's one of those things that I wanna be able to show it, but I haven't. Oh,
Oh, do you have it available? A
oh,
visual?
hold up.
This is a cool little thing we can do
Can you see
now.
this?
No.
You
Oh,
can
wait, maybe. Yes.
you can see that, right?
Wait, now it's just me looking big on the screen. Now it's you. Now it's us. There we go.
All of
Yes.
it?
Mhm.
Okay.
So for
People who
people who
are
are listening,
yeah.
but also for people who are watching, I'll do a quick walkthrough on this. This is a care map. This is an activity that we do with professionals and across organizations or schools as part of our professional development and training. But it's also something that we do with families, just because families a lot of times feel overwhelmed by their life and they kind of don't know why.
Yeah.
So, what you're looking at, or if you're listening, I'll walk you through it, is right in the very center is sort of the nucleus of the family. So, here at Pinnacle, our family is a mom and their identified child that has their mental health needs brighten, and then their quote unquote typically developing child joy. And so this care map is related to just Brighton and Brighton services. And coming off of the nucleus of this family are five larger bubbles that represent insurance, education, health, services, and agencies, which are some of the major factors that most families have to manage when they have a kid with mental health needs. So when you look at each of those larger domains, for instance, in health, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different bubbles coming off of the health domain, which is everything from a primary care to a dentist to neurology or different types of testing that a child may need, like a neuropsych or an EKG, those kinds of things. Then under services, we have everything from individual therapy to family therapy, psychiatry, the ever ongoing and needed relationship with your pharmacist. If your child is on medications, you would not believe how important your relationship with the pharmacist is. So there's lots of bubbles there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and services. Then agencies, we have like child protective services and social workers or other people that may be attached to that, the Department of Mental Health, or other types of agencies, Department of Developmental Services, maybe one that's not listed on here. There are lots of different kinds of agencies. Insurance, private pay, if your child has Medicaid, um, or if you're paying out of pocket for things and that are not covered by insurance. And then education, which of course we're focusing on today, which is everything from the school, all of the different services that may be happening in school, from OT, PT, speech, clinical, to the IEP planning or 504, the team that is involved with that, the team chair, all the people that come to those meetings. If you you have specific transportation needs for your child. So lots of different things there. And then of course this care plan doesn't show any of the needs that are there for the other child that this family has,
Yep.
or anything related to self-care for the mom.
Or fun,
And right, or
or
anyone,
hobbies, or
hobbies, or any just like regular,
anything.
there's no bubble for just like be a family
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Right, like, movie night is not a, like,
Not
identified need on
yeah.
here, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, this is something that I created that at one point was roughly based on the services that I had, and this is 68 bubbles in
Mhm.
total. And so one of the things that we
68.
do through our 68. And so one of the things that we do in our trainings with parents and with professionals, and it's different how we kinda go about this, but it's really comes down to the realization that at any time, any of these 68 people services things could be calling this mom, right? And
Emailing, sending letters in the mail.
exactly. And if there's a crisis with Brighton, the child,
Yep.
then all of these people are probably calling, or some representative of at least the major bubbles. And that's a lot, especially when there's a current crisis going on. Thanks for bringing that visual up, Diana, because I
Yeah,
do love that we do care planning, and I think it's important.
me
And I
too.
think right now, with what's happening in schools, um, a lot of people in administration, school committees, school councils, these are it's an important visual, an important realization, I think, for people to have and to think about and sort of have, like, top of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a little empathy goes a long way, and I think that that really helps with that aspect of things. This is the other thing I love so much about our trainings is that we just really help people to see a different perspective than what their typical perspective might be. In fact, we have a disclaimer, at the beginning. Oftentimes, we let people know we're going to be challenging you and us on the ways that we think about things because if we just get comfortable with how we do things, then that's when we start to see the major challenges and crisis, that we're seeing in schools. The schools that are able to like adapt, roll with the punches, try new things, like they're fine. It's the places and institutions that are really rigidly holding on to the way things have always been, across multiple domains that like students are struggling with their mental health.
Mhm.
Um, and it's like, I mean, students are struggling with their mental health across the board, but I mean, to an extent where like the adults feel like there's they're not being effective.
Yeah.
Um,
And burnt out,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's
How
it's
many
hard to
teachers?
feel
Yeah,
like you're effective or even be able to take a step back when
yeah,
you feel like you're in crisis mode. And, going back to, like,
yep,
me saying, like, "Oh, we've been having the same I've been having the same conversation for 15 years." Like,
mm,
when we first started Pinnacle, one of the
yeah,
very first trainings we ever did, we had a teacher who was very challenged by our
yeah.
ideas
Yes, I remember.
and was
She hated us.
very adamant of sort of continuing to keep the rest of the people that were in the room in the, like, this is the way school is supposed to be, and kids and families and everybody else should fall in line.
Yes.
And this, like, thought process of I didn't get into teaching
To be a
to
counselor, to
yes,
deal with mental health. I'm here to teach math. I'm here to yeah, yeah,
yes. And I
I
think that
remember.
that is a conversation that is still very relevant,
Yeah,
right? And there are still a lot of people that feel that way. There's a lot of teachers in the world who have done amazing things and
yes,
have been teaching for a long time
yep,
and rightfully deserve their pension and, all of the things that from teaching for so many years,
Yeah, it's I
but
mean, I
some of those
that's
deeply held beliefs
yeah.
are, like, embedded, right? And so that's gonna be around for the next 5, 7, 10 years until they're
Mhm.
completely
They retire. Retire. It's time to retire. You know how many times I've held sit back saying that when I'm sitting across from somebody like, "I think Jane, Jane, it might
I'm
be time
always like,
to
"What else could
retire."
you be doing here?" Like,
You know who's
I
actually
honestly
ready
mean
to
that with the
retire?
most respect.
The
Like,
librarian.
if you hate this job right now, like,
Yeah,
I don't believe in anybody working at a job that they hate,
I 100% agree. I know,
you know?
I
So,
really
like,
yeah,
what else can you do?
yeah.
Like, have you explored that? Because I think that's part of a deeply held belief, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I went to school, I did this thing, I got this education in whatever fields. This
Yep.
isn't just teachers, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. You
this
get
is what I
stuck.
came here to do.
Yeah.
And, at the end, it's like, but if you're not happy, like,
If
make
you're
the
not
change.
happy. And that's yeah, and that's a thing. I mean, you know, I just have to also say that I inherently know that teaching and by way of teaching at a collegiate level, but still teaching, it's tough. So, teaching in and of itself is a very challenging profession. So, I also feel them when they're like and like on top of like making sure that the future leaders of tomorrow are well educated, I also have to like teach myself how to work in mental health into math,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and
That's
that's
like a
what we're saying.
whole it's a
Yeah,
whole different skill set.
it's a
It
whole different
is.
skill set, a whole different skill set that takes dedication and practice to hone, quite frankly,
Mhm.
and a lot of people
Mhm.
just don't have the bandwidth for it, and so they just find themselves in this place where, like, they feel stuck, because they don't have the bandwidth to acquire the skills with the practice and the diligence and the quite frankly, the time and energy that it takes to acquire them
Yeah.
and continue to do what the job is, like, at the base
Yeah.
level from their perspective.
And they go
And
home at night, they're like, "I'm putting on Jeopardy. I'm not fucking thinking about learning
I
SEL,
yeah,
social emotional learning."
yeah, a lot of them
Right?
are going home and working more, like,
Oh,
most
yeah.
teachers I know are, like, burning the candle at both ends, quite literally.
Listen,
So,
before I was a reformed Catholic, reformed, recovering, both,
recovering?
both.
Reformed, I think, would indicate that you're still Catholic. Recovering
Let's say both,
okay.
just for shits and giggles. Before then, I used to teach for a very short time.
Yeah.
My daughter's CCD class, religious
Oh.
education, volunteer. I'm like, "How hard can it be? I'm gonna teach you guys about Jesus. This is gonna be easy. We're
I'm
gonna
just picturing
have fun
you.
for 45 minutes." I mean, I did think they were gonna obviously serve me wine every time I showed up, but they didn't.
You're like
Annoying.
you're like, "Hello, wine and cheese,"
I'm
right?
like, "Is the wine and cheese ready?" Because the kids
Crepe?
are running around. So, I did it for 2 years. At the end of the 2nd year, I was like, "People do this all day." And, like, I remember
That
even
was
being
once a
like
week?
it was once a week for 45 minutes,
Oh my it
and
took
I
you
was
2
like
years to get to that point. Imagine if you did that all day, every day.
in 2 years, I was like, "Retirement!"
Run me my pension. My or shall I
And
say my
honestly,
compensation.
like, part of it was I wanted to do, like, I still am, fun, innovative, new things with the kids
Yeah.
instead of, like, reading out of this book.
Bible. That's what I remember CCD being like. I'm like,
Well, she was younger, so we weren't at the point of the Bible. It was, like, the little, like, workbook things, but it was,
"Oh,
like
yeah. I
it was
remember
this, like,
those."
curriculum, and I was
Yeah.
always like, all right, but, like, make it fun,
Yeah,
right? Like, so
yeah,
they remember it.
yeah.
And, like, I remember the, like, church people who ran it were like, "You can't just go and, like, change it." And I was like, "I'm not changing it, I'm just, like, making
Making
it
it better,
interactive." And they
making
were
it better.
like, "There's a book." And I was like, "We're learning what's in the book." But this is what it is, just, like,
Yeah,
change systems. And then I remember, like, I did, like, at the holidays, I did, like, a birthday party for Jesus, right?
yeah.
With my class, and oh my god, I thought I was gonna get fired from my volunteer job.
You threw Jesus a birthday party.
Yeah, I brought, like, cupcakes. It was, like,
And,
a
like
different way to, like, celebrate Christmas or
yeah,
whatever,
they were like,
and,
"That
like,
is."
make it fun for the
Did
kids.
you
And,
have a
like,
Christmas tree?
we
Or
sang
was it
happy
like
birthday to Jesus, and they were like, "First of all, that's not on brand, bitch. Second of all, none of the other kids had a party today." And I was like, "I'm not here to coordinate the fact that everybody else is here to be basic." That was the last time.
Yeah,
Anyways, I can't can you imagine if I was
it
a
was
teacher?
swift retirement.
If I was a teacher in schools, families would love me for the 1 year before I got fired.
Yeah. The one year where you're like, "I get to do whatever I want because I got nothing to lose, and they're not gonna send me home because 'cause they're short-staffed and they can't get substitute teachers, so then all the kids will be in a cafeteria."
Yes, exactly, exactly. I did substitute teach back in the
I
day,
could never.
and
I could
I
never
liked
be.
that because it was like I worked whenever I wanted to.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like, they just call you and they're like, "We need a substitute," which was a
Yeah,
call I
yeah.
got every day.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
That's
you
nice.
because it was like it's a large district here,
Yeah.
it was like, "No, I'm not doing today, I'm not doing high school."
Yeah.
I never did middle school, let's
Yeah,
be
no,
honest.
no, no. It's elementary or, like, preschool, like, the early years
Mhm,
for
mhm.
me, the babies.
Or I would do the, like, older high
Older
school,
kids.
like
Yeah,
11th,
juniors and
12th grade.
seniors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Middle school kids, look,
yeah,
I like to hang out with a middle school kid all day. Like,
yeah.
I'll take a 12, 13,
Mhm.
11-year
Yeah,
old, like, shopping to the movies, let's
yeah,
go. They're so fun and
yeah. They are
whatever, but,
fun.
like, in middle school, all they wanna do is talk to each other and make googly eyes at each other,
I know, their
and
hormones are all over the place, they
and
smell
they
weird, they're
yeah, the
shifty,
smell.
they're
I'm like, "I
shifty.
can't have my coat
Yeah.
going home smelling like
They call
y'all's
you
hormones
bra.
every day."
"Well, come on, brah. Come
Bruh.
on, brah.
Bruh,
Bruh, you're doing too
this is
much.
how kids email
You're
teachers.
doing too much."
Yo, have you seen that guy on
"You're not
TikTok?
doing
He's a
enough."
teacher and he reads kids' emails to him.
Yes.
I love this dude. I wish I knew his TikTok handle right now. Hilarious the way the kids email.
It's so funny. It's so funny. Either
So
way to
it's
communicate.
yeah, and it's
What
so like, it's hard
Yeah,
out
yeah, it's
there.
hard being a teacher. And kids are having serious challenges, very serious challenges. Social media really doesn't help. I always talk about how, like, the teachers are always constantly asking, like, what happened? Like, what do you think? Like, they think we're the experts that can say, like, exactly what. But, like, I always say, like, there's so many things that have changed even from my childhood to now that I feel like, based on what I know about the human body, are in direct correlation, like the fact that kids are not outside all day until the streetlights
Mhm,
come on anymore, like lack of vitamin D, lack of serotonin, plus the screens, they're not getting enough sleep. The bully isn't just a bully for the school day, it's like at home and all the time because it's on social media. It's like, and so our youth are facing like serious identity crisis within identity crisis, because like being a youthful person, in your youth, you're like trying to find yourself. That's part of like that stage of life is figuring out who you are and like where you stand and like learning lessons through interactions with your peers. And it's just a wild, wild world out there for the youth. So it's like crazy for the teachers, it's crazy for the youth, parents are having to work twice as hard to maintain a life, so they're working 2, 3 jobs sometimes, like, we have a lot of single parents, like, there's just so many things contributing to, not to mention pandemic for everyone, contributing to, like, mental health in our society, and I feel like it all just comes to a head in the school setting, and I have great empathy for everyone. I'm a parent, I have kids, you're a parent, you have kids, like, it's rough no matter what the circumstances, on some levels when it comes to mental health and in our society, and so, but, like, schools who prioritize it and really make it a community effort, oh, it's so beautiful what kind of resilience can be built. It's just gorgeous. There are certain schools that I've worked with that I've really tried to, involve parents more, involve youth more, and like think about mental health from a cultural and foundational standpoint, not just like, the surface level, the aspects of it, but like how can we weave mental health and striving for good mental health into the, like, fabric of our school community. Those schools who, like, set out to do that, it, like, is such a beautiful thing to see. Everyone thrives, and, um, kids are healthy, teachers are healthy, parents are healthy, you know? So it is possible when people
Yeah.
are willing to, like,
Yeah, I think, we're
step out
always talking with schools about this idea of family engagement, right? We're
there.
certified in a lot of different things related to how to
Yep.
engage schools around doing better with family engagement. Most schools are very honest about the fact that their scores or assessments on how they rate related to family engagement are usually at the very bottom
Mhm.
of, the collective things that they're rated on.
Mhm.
And, one of the things that we sort of are always talking about is really taking the, like, leap of faith and
Mhm.
flipping that upside down,
Mhm.
right? And putting the families at the top as the
Mhm.
experts that they are,
Mhm.
and that, like, you would not believe what an engaged group of parents will do for your school and
Yeah.
for your community, right?
Yeah.
Like, I always and I love when we have this conversation with people in schools because, you know, parents are unfiltered like we are here,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
if something's going wrong in the district, if
Yeah.
there are not services available, if there are, like, things that are innately going wrong,
Yeah.
as somebody who is contracted as a teacher or an administrator or whatever the case may be, there are it's a systemic problem that there's really no way to advocate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Internally. It's
Yeah.
very difficult to try to advocate for change within a school, especially public schools, I think we're mostly talking about.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that, but parents can do whatever they want,
It's
right?
true.
These are the people who can write the letters,
Yeah.
can take the day off of work and
Yeah.
go to the congressman's office or
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
state house or
It's
show
true.
up to the meetings or get a bunch of parents together that are going to be outside or get questions on a poll.
Yeah.
We had local voting, and
Yeah.
when I voted, there was somebody that was outside petitioning to get standardized testing off of
Woohoo! Thumbs
the
up for voting.
yes, to get standardized testing as a graduation requirement as it is here. Um, the kids have to pass a standardized test here in Massachusetts in order to graduate high school, even if they've went all the way through and
I
passed
know. The
all of their
MCAS, right?
courses. Right,
Yeah,
the MCAS
MCAS.
test, the
Yeah.
standardized test,
Crazy.
and if they don't pass this standardized test, they don't get a high school diploma, and so their options become go get a GED, drop out and
Mhm.
get a GED,
Yep.
or walk and get a certificate of attendance.
Oh, heck no.
And so who do we think are the people who are most impacted by that?
Yeah.
Not our top performing students,
Mhm.
right? It's our kids with social emotional needs, our kids with learning disabilities. Like these are the kids. And
Yeah.
so there's a petition happening right now to go on the next poll, the next
Mhm.
vote, to take that off as a requirement. Not that the standardized test goes away, right? It's a great way
Yeah.
to measure schools and all of that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
but that
yeah.
the kids aren't paying. Like,
It can't
why are
be
the kids
hinged on.
being
Yeah, they can't be
so the
hinged on
school
that.
didn't do a great job at
Yeah, yeah.
teaching this kid and they didn't pass the standardized test, but they pass all their classes, but they still don't earn their diploma,
Yeah.
right? So, but
Yeah.
it's the parents that are pushing that to get it on the polls. So, and that's just one of many examples, right? Like parents will get more people to your parent night because they'll
Yeah.
give you better ideas about what you're serving for food,
Yes.
what the time is that
Yeah.
you're doing this, what
Yeah.
the day is, how,
Yep.
getting the word out, sharing it on their own social medias. Like
Yep.
the
Yep. Who key
parents
stakeholders in
are,
the community to partner with, like,
mhm.
they it's so true. It's so
And
true.
yes, it does take a little bit of work to start it, but it does with anything new, right? Like
Yeah.
we all fell off of our bike learning to ride it,
Yeah.
but now we all can ride our bike forever,
Right.
right? We
Right.
have the skill, we have it forever.
Right.
And this is how it is with family engagement. It's still it's different to think about like putting the families at the top first as like an equal partner, which by the way, they already are.
Yeah.
Like, hello.
Yeah.
But really making them feel that way.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's really it, is fully being in recognition, like we said at the top, like who's the team? Who are
Mhm.
the identified members of our team that is going to help us to live the lives that we envision living within the school setting and environment, and what are the roles of each
Mhm.
person on the team, and how can we best maximize those to in furtherance of our goal, right, around like being as healthy and happy as we can be. Like that's
Mhm.
all anybody wants, and I
Yeah.
think sometimes people don't you know they don't realize the huge and massive gains, like you said, like you learn a skill for life, with just like a couple of rough moments,
Mhm.
and it changes everything, like
Mhm.
now you have a mode of transportation forever,
Mhm.
like,
Literally.
like you never have to walk again if you don't want to. If you got a bike, you can get somewhere, and like, yeah. So, I think it would be really amazing to start to see more innovation within school mental health. We didn't even touch on like counselors and, all of the infrastructure that is built in that is also like archaic, but
Mhm.
um, I think it's an interesting topic and one that both of us are very passionate about, for multiple reasons. And, one that I feel like continues to come into our purview.
Mhm.
We have our pearls working in schools, we've done workshop after workshop with schools. Like we just can't get away from the importance of school as a societal structure, as we're trying to revolutionize in the mental health space. So I'm sure it'll come up again.
Oh yeah. Listen, I've been talking about it for 15 years. I don't think it's gonna end tomorrow.
I mean, the thing is, we have the solution. We
Yeah.
know we know what to do.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
all anybody has to do is hire us, literally, and, like,
Mhm.
trust us completely, and then, like, they'll see a complete
Or
transformation.
just a little bit.
Or just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Let us do what you hired us to do, and then you'll see what so many people have come to know to be true. It's just always better.
Will help you to get less
Just
emails from parents like me.
maybe that's yeah, that's an interesting marketing strategy,
Do
just
you
like
not wanna
trickle
ever
down.
receive emails like this again?
These emails haunting you at night? trying to eat dinner with your family, but see this all across your screen? If this has ever been you, you might benefit from the Pinnacle program. Learn more at www.pinships.org.
Yes.
And I think that's it. I mean, that we could say so so much, but our producer, Mark,
Mhm.
is, in the private
He's
chat,
telling
which
us
I
to
I
do a
forgot
little wraparound.
I forgot to keep open, so I only just saw that he's been messaging us for 40 minutes.
I've been seeing it.
Oh, okay, good. Glad one of us has seen it.
Um, so don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review
Yeah,
our little podcast that we're working so diligently to make it to a big podcast.
yeah,
Help us out. It makes a difference.
yes.
And stick around for our meditation minute or a couple of minutes.
Ocean sounds. I don't know if it's gonna
I
be
don't
ocean
I don't
sounds.
know. I don't well, now you just promised ocean sounds to the people. Mark's been on a foliage kick lately.
I know, I'm trying to get back to the beach, it's getting cold.
Mm,
I'm ready for some
I
sun.
I'm ready for the plane.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Bye.
right. Bye, everyone.